Good news, everyone. Yeah, what if Futurama was a live-action movie? Now, today on Movie Recap Pro, we'll break down what that might look like. So, who should Hollywood cast? Let's dig into some fan suggestions. Most of you were left wondering why the heck we were asking such a terrible question. Still, there were others who put their big boy pants on and gave us some suggestions. Ollie Josephson says Xena as Leela and Chris Pratt as Fry, and probably Bender too. Nailed it, twit. I say, sure, whatever helps you sleep at night. I could actually see Chris Pratt as Fry, though. You'd have to get like schlubby again. I don't want to see no six-pack abs on my Philip J. Fry. You dig? Speaking of six-packs, Reconnect 3777, that is your real name, suggests bodybuilder and YouTuber Lean Beef Patty as Leela. I'm not sure about her acting chops, but honestly, not a bad choice. At the very least, she looks like she could kick my ass, so there's your main qualification. Admittedly, all of these choices could probably kick my ass, but you get the idea. While Domination 1985 puts forward Pete Davidson for the role, that's a more modern interpretation, but I can see Pete Davidson being a hopeless, degenerate delivery boy, sure. Just Swivel 2 seems to be taking things at least a little seriously. They suggest Tom Holland as Fry, Margaret Chu as Leela, Sam Rockwell as Bender, Jonathan Pryce as Professor Farnsworth, and David Cross as Zwaberg. I feel like Chu is a little small to portray Leela, but otherwise, that's a pretty stellar lineup. That said, I'm kind of stuck on Lean Beef Patty as Leela, so maybe I'm just showing my biases. Meanwhile, this user suggests Bill Murray as Professor Farnsworth, something I could certainly see just for poops and giggles. Though, how about Pedro Pascal as Farnsworth? Slap some old age makeup on him and just let him be the acting wunderkind that we all know him to be. I think Mr. Fantastic could really fill the role, or not. User Ryden Stark 315 had a whole list of good to great suggestions, including Mackenzie Davis as Leela, Awkwafina as Amy, Ice Cube as Hermes, Andy Serkis as Zwaberg, Christopher Walken as Farnsworth, Helen Mirren as Mom, and my personal favorite, Ryan Gosling as Zap Brannigan. So, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Bender's going to be a CGI creation any way you cut it, so he gets to stay voiced by John DiMaggio. Otherwise, people are going to riot. I mean, based on our comments, people will riot anyway, but still, DiMaggio for Bender. This is the way. Help is on the way. As for the plot of this live-action travesty, let's keep it simple. I think it should just be a simple retelling of the pilot, stapled onto a more feature film-friendly story. Ideally, something with a big villain for the crew to go up against. I love the idea of Helen Mirren as Mom, so let's go with that and say she's our big bad, with Ryan Gosling's Zap Brannigan as the secondary antagonist. The way I see it, we'd be cherry-picking from a variety of classic episodes. Space Pilot 3000 is essentially just the inciting incident. This feature film version will feature Pete Davidson's Philip J. Fry awakening on the eve of the year 3000. There, he will immediately meet Leela and Bender. They wind up as job deserters and move in with Professor Farnsworth, who employs them as his delivery team. From there, they wind up on another planet as part of a job and stumble onto a scheme between Mom and Zap Brannigan that puts themselves and Earth in danger. Since Mom deals in robots, the scheme will involve Bender in some capacity, and a newly established Planet Express crew will have to do what they can to save him and the world. Thus, we see the blooming of friendships that will last well into a future, hopefully filled with money, sequels, and, I don't know, a spin-off show about Bugaloo rearing or whatever. So, how about the key differences? The stuff that's going to stand out between the animated and live-action versions? For one thing, we got to talk about Leela. There's almost no way to not make her a horrifying monstrosity, the likes of which H.P. Lovecraft could only dream. It's just not how a human face is supposed to look. There's a chance going with a more cartoonish look, a Sonic the Hedgehog approach, could work. But at that point, what are we really doing here? Full CG head replacement to make a one-eyed mutant look mildly sexy? I don't see why not. There's an argument to be made that Futurama, the live-action Futurama fan film, has a decent handle on the idea. Give that version a big Hollywood budget makeover and wham. We might just have something that won't make you terribly uncomfortable. Still, It's a tough sell and the likeliest culprit for the project not getting off the ground. Wrapping things up, there's definitely an inkling of a good idea buried in here, but this might be a great case of letting a good cartoon just be a cartoon. The show is at its best when dealing with deliveries to bizarre places and wacky sci-fi hijinks. Things that could be replicated in live action, but which work best in animation. How could this happen? What do you think? Who would you cast in a live-action Futurama? What gross, ugly character could I be? Just lay it on me. Come on, let's do this thing. Batter up. Who should Mike can be?